Hello, and welcome to your Sister in Elections, where today I will be continuing my monthly series where I go over all the polls coming out of the swing states, competitive states, in the presidential election, and analysing these polls and seeing whether they're going further into the Democratic columns, further into Republican columns, or whether they're starting to shift from a Democrat to Republican, or vice versa. And the date today is the 15th of August, so we're now within 3 months of the election, November 3rd, and I will be changing the uh, essentially the polls I use. On 538, here's Minnesota for an example. There's not many polls in this state because it's almost guaranteed to go to Biden, but this is an example. Beforehand, I've been using the most recent ones that have been coming out of different pollsters. So Emerson is a highly rated pollster and quite effective. If anything, it might be slightly biased to the Republicans. But as you can see, they have it here Biden +2 compared to the one that's taken previously, which is Biden +18, which is unlikely to happen. This is much more of a better net result. And instead of using individual polls from now on, because back now we're 3 months away from the election, there's going to be a lot more polls, multiple per week in all the competitive swing states. So I'll be using the um, the average poll, the average from all the pollsters, from all the polls that have been collected, and this figure 5.6, leading for Biden in Minnesota is what I'm going to be using for all the states, for all the swing states to get my average polling data, which I will be using for the electoral map. Now, I'm going to leave these two clear for the moment, but yeah, because there's not much polling data come out of these. I'll have to check later on, but it's safe to say that this is probably going to go Republican at the moment. And at the moment, Nebraska's second district is tilt Democrat from the polls I've seen. They're not in this video, but this is basically how it's probably going to look based on the polling data and the shifts in both of these states. Now, let's go into the Democratic states that are likely for the Democrats. That would be Colorado, Nevada, New Hampshire, and there's quite a few others as well. We have Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, this already gives Joe Biden and the Democrats a win, and effectively, the Rust Belt is exactly where Joe Biden has been doing well throughout the election, well, throughout the campaign season. Despite slight tightenings up in these states, there's still 9, 7, 8 point leads. Let's just go through it. 5 point lead in Minnesota, 7 point lead in Wisconsin, 8 point lead in Michigan, and a 7 point lead in Pennsylvania. All of these, going into the likely column for the Democrats, and this would be a complete swing back. Minus Minnesota, a complete swing back from Hillary Clinton losing all three of these states back in 2016, and Joe Biden is on course at the moment, according to the polls, to regain all three of the Rust Belt states that he lost, or that his party lost back in 2016. And the rest of the states really aren't that surprising. Minnesota, all of these states went back in 2016 for Hillary Clinton, even though she lost. So it's highly unlikely that Trump will gain anything in any of these states. However, Minnesota, it's quite a rural area, and I think it will be going into the same column roughly as Michigan or Pennsylvania. I think that if Trump wins Michigan or Pennsylvania this year, he will be winning Minnesota. As Hillary Clinton, only got about 1.5% lead in the end from the results, but that could definitely come down. Now I'm going to be going into the lean Democratic ones, and this is within 5 points. Arizona now falls into this category. Florida, 5 point lead for Joe Biden at the moment there. North Carolina and Ohio, surprisingly enough. So this is basically, just pushing Joe Biden into, effectively a landslide, a modern day victory, landslide victory. And Arizona has definitely been, it was even in the last month. I did it back in July, sorry, and it has edged itself into the Democratic bracket. Joe Biden has, held on to his lead in North Carolina, even though it is razor thin, and Ohio is a +1 lead for the vice president at the moment. Florida has also been, in and out of the likely and lean columns for the Democrats. Joe Biden is doing quite well with the, mostly older voters in this area. So I think Joe Biden is definitely the favorite to win Florida, compared to maybe Ohio, North Carolina, and Arizona, where I think Donald Trump still has a great chance of winning the states he won back in 2016. Now, for Republicans, it is the rest of the states here: Iowa, Georgia, and Texas. I'm going to put them all in lean because I think, despite the polling data saying these are effectively tilt with only +1 margins for the president, he has fought his way back in Georgia. He's gained that state back from the Democrats, where I had it characterized back in July. And Iowa, and Texas have stayed in the Republican column, which is always a good sign for the president. But the fact that Iowa and Texas are even competitive and Georgia as well, is not the best sign for the president at the moment. And despite nationally polling data, going back in favor of the president, you haven't really seen much change in the competitive swing states. Michigan, Pennsylvania still holding to their likely leads. Same thing with Texas and Iowa, only razor thin margins for the president. And that is not a good sign for him. He's going to have to start working his way back in the states that basically led him to victory back in 2016. The Rust Belt, Florida was a key one as well. North Carolina, he needs to win. Otherwise, it's going to be a blowout win for Joe Biden. And I think Trump can do this. I think he has a path to victory, but it does include these Rust Belt states. Because I think the Southwest is almost a lost cause for him at this point. Arizona is going so far into the Democratic column for what it was back in 2016. It's been about a 6 to 7 point shift from Republican to Democrat within the space of 4 years. It is incredible. I think Donald Trump's path is in the eastern portion of the US, and essentially through these Rust Belt states, which still hold quite a lot of electoral vote clout, a lot more than the southwest portion of the country. And I think, through Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and as well as the southeast with North Carolina and Florida, I think Trump can edge back his advantage, even though the current polls 3 months out essentially have a huge favor in the Democratic challenger, that is Joe Biden. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon.